Hey, 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 hey. It's a sunny day here in glorious Gothenburg, and today I am going to talk to you about coding conventions. So exciting! I know, right? So, there is something that some people care about a lot and some people care less about when it comes to coding conventions, and that is usually the style of writing code in a project. Some people feel that you should write things in a certain way, and some people like to get really deep down into the semantics of should we use this way of writing something or should we do it that way, and so forth and so forth. Now, I'm going to be upfront and honest with you that for the most part I don't care. I'm very much the type of person who can kind of go with what what the people on my team want to do, versus instead of enforcing my own way of doing things. There are some practices that I do think to just define some things. There are certain practices that I use myself that I think are just good form when it comes to writing code. And it doesn't have so much to do with the style of writing, if that makes sense. There's a subtle difference, but there is a difference. Now, I had the good fortune of working with a very I'm just gonna come out and say it, one of the best developers I've ever worked with. He's extreme. He still is. He's an extremely talented coder, but he's also a little bit of a code diva. And if you're watching this, Alan, you know that you're a code diva. Anywho, so a lot of the time when we were working together, he would identify certain things that I would do that he wasn't so happy with. And we had discussions over and over and over about how I should write things this way or that way, and so forth and so forth. And so till I finally said that, hey, you know what? Let's make a deal. Because I can see that you're very passionate about how we should write our code. So let's make this deal, you and I. I will let you enforce any rule, any practice. I will comply completely with whatever you want if you can give me a ESLint rule that reminds me to do that. Because unfortunately, when it comes to getting a new habit, it's not something that I can just flip a switch in my mind and then all of a sudden I write things the way that you want me to write them. So I said, I think that's a fair deal, because that way I can have my text editor or IDE or whatever tell me that, hey, you wrote this thing that way, you should write it that way instead, because Alan said that you should. And actually this started out as the idea I had was because if I put it on my colleague to do this, then I know two things. I know that it's going to be a very effective way for us to get these practicing to the code base, because in my opinion, nothing beats having a constant reminder, like an actual computer system that keeps telling you that, okay, write it that way or this way. And sometimes you can even auto format it with like prettier JS and stuff like that, which is just amazing. And the second thing is that I know that we are only going to get in the stuff that really matters to my colleague, because if you can find a lint rule and add it to the project, all of a sudden you have to I know it's not just a fleeting idea in his head, it has more significance, because now all of a sudden you have to do something to make it happen. You can't just mention it in a code review or do it in passing. You're actually forced to commit to your principle or your ideology, if you will. And That's a little bit more work than just saying that, hey, you should do it this way. And I'm actually very keen to see how it worked extremely well at Ticketmaster. Very well, extremely well. And I'm at my new job where I'm actually going to pitch this idea to my colleagues, because I have a few of these colleagues, the code divas as well, and I hope that we will have the same success as I had at Ticketmaster. And I'll give you this tip as well. Trust me, you'll save yourself a lot of discussions back and forth if you just decide at the team level at your company that, alright, the people who really care about this stuff and want to enforce it, please sit down in a meeting room and have a discussion and talk about braces and the quotes versus double quotes and all that stuff. Decide all of that stuff. But don't come and bother all the rest of the team. Put it in a lint rule. That way we can resolve all these discussions forever, and we don't have to think so much about, and we save ourselves a lot of headache and like discussion and like basically time. That at the end of the day, it's gonna save your time. Now, of course, not everything can be expressed in a lint rule, but try to be a little bit pragmatic with what I'm saying now. But take this message with you. Linters are amazing at getting consistency in your project.